to join us for this program. I'm now handing this program over to Mr. Muhammad Ansari for brief introduction. Thank you.
Hello, Namaste, Azur. My name is Muhammad Ansari. I would like to introduce Mr. Homnath Dhakal. Professor Homnath Dhakal is a professor of mechanical engineering at the School of Mechanics and Design Engineering, University of Portsmouth, UK. In addition, he is also a docent visiting professor of bio-based materials at the Facility of Textile Engineering and Business, University of Bora, Sweden. He leads the Advanced Polymers and Composites APC research group with the School of Mechanical and Design Engineering. His principal research interest lies in the design, development, testing, and characterization of sustainable lightweight composites, nano composites, natural fiber composites, and biocomposites, including their mechanical, tensile, fluctuating low velocity, impact, and fracture roughness, thermal and environmental properties. He has published in over 160 international peer-reviewed journals, including books chapter, and conference proceeding. He has been a guest editor for the number of journal and a member of the editorial board of the Journal of Composite Science, Journal of Research on Engineering Structure and Material, and the Journal of Molecules. Professor Dhakal has over 3,675 citations within an H index of 30, according to Google Scholar. ResearchGate score of 35.88, higher than 95% of all ResearchGate members. He also serves as a member of scientific committees and as an evaluator for various research projects. He has successfully supervised many PhDs as the director of students and been an external examiner for numerous PhD nationally and internationally. He has coordinated and chaired a number of international conferences and presented, invited, and keynote talks in the field of sustainable composite and biocomposites. Professor Dhakal is a fellow of the Higher Education Academy, chartered engineer, a fellow of the Institution of Engineering and Technology, fellow of the Institute of Material, Minerals, and Mining, and a member of American Society for Composite. I would like to please invite Professor Homnath Dhakal.
Right. Mohammed, thank you so much for your kind introduction. I think there was, am I supposed to share now? I think we had rearranged our program. Yeah. Professor Dahal was going to share first, and then I was going to share second, if that's still okay.
Yes, I apologize for the misunderstanding here. First it was Professor Dahal and then you, sir. Sorry about this.
Right. So yeah, thank you so much for your introduction, for long introduction. I appreciate that. So maybe now, maybe if you could take time to introduce Professor Dahal, will be great. Thank you.
Yes, my apologies. Sorry, I had an older file. I had too many files in my computer. I opened up my old file in here. Okay, there we have Mr. Keshav Dhakal. Mr. Keshav Dhakal is
Dahal.
the head.
Sorry, Keshav Dahal.
Keshav Dahal. My apologies. My apologies. Professor Keshav Dahal, he would be our first speaker. Professor Keshav Dahal is the head of the Artificial Intelligence, Visual Communication and Network Research Center at the University of West of Scotland. Hello? Keshav Dahal is the head of the Artificial Intelligence, Visual Communication and Network Research Center at the University of West. Hello, sorry, I think I'm hearing myself. Or can everybody hear me? I think I'm hearing.
Yeah, we can hear you now. Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I'll start.
Can we, Ansari ji, I will mute all and then you can unmute yourself and then talk later. Yeah. Okay. And then I will request both professors to unmute while both of you are talking.
Hello, apologies for the inconvenience. Let's start again. So I would like to introduce Mr. Professor Keshav Dahal. He is the head of the Artificial Intelligence, Visual Communication and Networks Research Center at the University of West of Scotland. Prior to this, he held academic position in the University of Bradford and the University of Strathclyde, Glasgow. He completes his master's study in 1996 and his PhD in 2000, both from the University of Strathclyde, Glasgow. His research interest lies in the area of computational intelligence, big data, deep machine learning, scheduling optimization, trust security modeling in distributed system. Professor Dahal has an extensive experience in terms of research supervision and management of funded projects. He has been principal co-investor of 17 EU, UK, and industry-funded projects. He has successfully supervised the completion of 6 postdoctoral, 22 PhDs, and over 60 master's undergraduate projects over 20 years of his academic career. Professor Dahal has published over 150 peer-reviewed journal conference papers and 3 edited books, and has sat on organizing program committees of over 60 reputed international conferences, including the general chair of a number of conferences. He is a senior member of the IEEE also. I would like to please invite Mr. Professor Keshav Dahal, the head of artificial intelligence.
Okay, thank you very much, Mohammed Ansari, for nice introduction. Homnath sir and I are going to cover today on dissertation and thesis writing, and what we are going to do is, and I will cover the undergraduate and master project a bit, and then Homnath sir will take over the PhD part. And Homnath sir, please feel free to jump in, okay, wherever you think you need to. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. Right, Roshan sir, can you enable me to share the screen? And I'm north of Scotland, and Homnath sir is right south south of UK. So in between us, we are going to cover whole UK. Okay. So can I share now? Yeah.
You can do it.
Can you see this? Is my screen visible now?
No, still not visible.
Not yet. You should be able
Okay.
to share it now. Did you go through the share screen button?
Yeah, share screen.
Yeah, now it's loading.
Yeah, we can see.
Yeah, we can see it now.
So let me go to PowerPoint slide presentation. And okay, first of all, thank you very much for SONEUK to organizing this session. I think this is going to be quite useful for some of our young students and and people who are inspiring to go for research projects or for PhD. And it's just my pleasure, and also Homnath are also quite interested, and we both are going to share our experience of supervising undergraduate, master's, and PhD projects and thesis, and probably provide some useful tips to you all. Okay, just before that, I just want to talk. I'm from Scotland, so this is a photo taken in Scotland during summertime, and many of you possibly visited Scotland, and those who have not visited yet, yeah, you must visit. Whenever this pandemic goes away, Scotland is very naturally very beautiful. Lots of hills and lots of lake. Lots of tourists from Europe and other country, and also from England as well. Okay, and Scotland is not only beautiful, but it also contributed to the world in many ways. Okay, so the telephone, Alexander Graham Bell was from Scotland. Television, one of the earliest development in Scotland. Penicillin, MRI scanner, Dolly the sheep, steam engine. It's a great invention in Scotland, and you all know Harry Potter. J.K. Rowling is also from Scotland, and also Adam Smith, the father of modern economics, is from Scotland too. So Scotland is not only beautiful but also an innovative nation, if you like. And this is my university. Just very, I'll spend 1 minute. University of West of Scotland is actually situated in West of Scotland. That's why the name comes from there. We have 5 campuses, 4 in Scotland, West of Scotland, and 1 in London. And also we have our presence in other countries in the Middle East, China, India, Malaysia, and so on. And this particular university, its origin goes back to 1897 as a polytechnical institute. But it became university in 90s. So, as a university, is a quite young, modern university. And this university played quite transformational influence on economic, social, and cultural development of Scotland and beyond. This is my research center. I'm the director of AVCN Research Center, which stands for Artificial Intelligence, Visual Communication, and Network. It has 5 academics, 10 postdoctoral doctoral research fellow and KTP associate, and KTP is a knowledge transfer partnership working with industry, trying to transfer research knowledge to business there. We have 30 plus PhD students and also quite active collaboration within UK and also abroad. These are main research area. We work in network, security, machine learning, and intelligent decision making, big data analytics, cloud computing, IoT, blockchain technology, and video image compression, logistic, connected health. So quite wide range of area here. So if any of you are interested to do a PhD or master's in this area, then you can contact me and I can provide you more information there. Okay. Okay, so this is just to promoting my university and my research center there. But today's main topic here is dissertation and thesis. So first, I'm going to just introduce what is in dissertation and what is thesis, okay, and what's the difference between them. And I just looked at Oxford Dictionary, and then this is the definition, an Oxford Dictionary definition for dissertation and thesis. So it's a long essay on a particular subject, especially one written for an academic university degree or diploma. So that's the dictionary definition of the dissertation and thesis here. Just taking a little bit further. So this is basically long piece of academic writing. Okay, academic writing based on research project. So you're doing some research project, and then you're writing about that project. How what did you do in that research projects in a systematic way. Okay, and you submit that as a part of your doctoral or master's or bachelor's degree. So it's a requirement for university to get a degree, either doctoral, master's, or bachelor's. The term thesis is used in a many different ways. Okay, I mean, usually thesis refers to the final assignments of PhD. So for PhD, we say thesis in many countries, and for say bachelor's degree and master's degree, we say either dissertation or project. Okay, but in many other countries, thesis and dissertations are quite interchangeable. So sometimes we say master's thesis, undergraduate thesis, or PhD thesis. So, if someone say undergraduate thesis, yeah, you understand that's the undergraduate project we are talking about here. Okay. Usually in UK, for bachelor's degree, we say individual project or sometimes final year project, and dissertation here. And for master's, dissertation, and for PhD thesis. So that's the usual term UK university used. For final year project, normally, it's a quite significant piece of work. Okay, it's about 30 to 40 credit for undergraduate, depending upon, some university has 40 credit undergraduate project, and some university has 30 credit undergraduate project. And just remember, in one semester, usually undergraduate students do about 60 credit. Okay, so it is almost half of the semester work, or little more if it's the pure 40 credit project. And this final year project can be long and thin. Some university adopts, you do undergraduate and project over the 2 semesters, along with other module. Okay, so it could be long and thin, or it could be short and thick. You do just in one term, but you spend a bit more time. Some university has in second semester, yeah, you start project, and only in second semester in some universities. And this individual project is related to your course of study. It must be related what you are doing, what is your course about. Okay, it should be related to the knowledge you gained in your previous year, and the degree of the course of your study. It should utilize the knowledge and skill you gain in taught modules in previous years, and it expected to develop the subject-related knowledge and also some research skill. You're while doing project, you're developing research skill as well as the subject-related knowledge. And possibly this is the this component is the most important component of your undergraduate study, and which sometimes provides the direction for your research career and also your interest. Okay, usually when you go for interview for your job interview after your undergraduate project, normally you are asked about your final year project. What did you do in your final year project? Okay, and if you ask many people here, everybody will remember what they have done during their undergraduate project. I have done my undergraduate project probably in 35 years ago, but I still remember what I have done in my undergraduate project. So it's a quite important piece of work in your career. Okay. The master's dissertations, there are 3 kinds of masters in UK. One is just a taught master course. So masters or masters of engineering or masters of science dissertations. And usually the taught masters has a 60 credit individual research project related to your course of study. So 60 credit means, usually in masters, the total credit is 180. So 1/3 of your course is a project. Yeah, so it's a dissertation. And it is normally done over 12 weeks. You spend about 12 weeks. The total for master's degree, there are 3 semesters, each of 12 weeks, and then you are doing the final 12 weeks for master dissertation. And it should utilize the knowledge you gained in your taught modules in that master's and also during your bachelor's course. And also this is a significant component of your study. 1/3 of your study is dissertation. And in some university, if you are doing very well, you get the distinction in masters. And in some university, there is a requirement that you must perform distinction level in the project to achieve the distinction level in your master whole course. Okay, so distinction level is about 70%. So you need to get overall mark over 70%. But in some university that you must get over 70% to in the dissertation, as well as your average mark should be over 70% to get the distinction. So it's a quite important piece of your work. The second kind of masters in UK and in some other universities is MRAGE. So it's a master's by research, and this is your total is 180 credit, and then 120 credit you are doing your individual projects, dissertations. So 2/3 of your study is research projects or dissertation. Okay, in master by research, MRAGE. And normally you spend 24 weeks on that, but it could be long and thin, means you start your project right at the beginning of your masters and spend whole 3 semester worth of 24 weeks time. And obviously it should utilize the knowledge and skill you gained in taught modules. 1/3 of modules, 1/3 of your course is taught modules. So you are taking some related taught modules for MRAGE. And it's a significant component of your study and the requirement distinctions as well. And if you are heading for distinction in MRAGE, sometime you must get distinction in the dissertation as well. Okay, and then the third kind of masters is MPhil, which is the full-time research. So you are not doing your taught modules, and you can take taught modules, but you are not doing any assessments or anything that. But you're assessed only with your individual projects, okay, research project. And normally it's over 1 year, but normally it takes 12 months to 18 months for MPhil if you are successful in your research project. Okay, expected significant research contributions and publication for this in MPhil, and expectation is that you publish paper from your research, and possibly this is the first step to PhD research. And in many UK university, you are not directly enrolling for PhD. We call so-called MPhil stroke PhD. So initially you enroll for MPhil, you do 1 year, sometimes you may be enrolling just to do MPhil. That's the one way. But other is all PhD students initially enroll for MPhil, and then after 1 year, usually you need to transfer your MPhil study to PhD. Okay, and there's a transfer event for that, and that's usually useful if you are going for PhD. And Hona sir is going to talk about PhD little more later on, and that's quite useful. That MPhil stroke PhD option is that sometimes you don't know what is research mean. And if you start PhD and then after 1 year you don't like anything and you are not interested, then it's you may lose whole year. But if you are enrolled initially for MPhil, then after 1 year you have option whether to go for PhD or not. If you got research idea, concept, you learn research skill, and then you have demonstrated that by publication perhaps, or by writing some research report, then you have met all requirement for PhD, and then you can go to the second year of PhD. And in that case, the first year is called, we take that first year we take first year of PhD, okay, after transfer event. So that's the structure in UK universities. Now, the difference between masters and MPhil or PhD, you find that in undergraduate and master project, this project is a bit more task oriented and goal driven. Okay, you know that what you are going to do in that short period. There is no the project specification is already built in, and you know what you are going to do. Okay, and it's a skill acquisition is important here. What that means is you are learning how to do research, how to manage project, and how to manage risk. This kind of skill you are developing while you are doing undergraduate and master's dissertations. And it is often directed by academics. So there is a lot of support can be obtained from academics for this, and can be used to assess suitability for PG research. And in your master's degree, for example, for 3 months, you are spending developing some research skill, and then that can be just later. And if you want to go for further research or MPhil or PhD, that can be assessed through master's project or undergraduate dissertations. PG research for MPhil and PhD, they are a bit more open-ended. So topic or area, but you don't know exactly what you are doing. Okay, so you are diving into a little bit open-ended area, and there is no fixed direction. Direction may change, and as you go further investigating, and then direction may change there. And it is it must develop some new methods and technique, either developing or using existing methods in the new domain or so. And this is supervised academic, but it is driven by students. So students in driving force, yeah, and in driving seat, and students is motivated and should be active. So it is independent, novel, and personal, and also training is research training here, and usually assessed by thesis and the defense and viva. Okay, so Omna sir is going to talk much on that. Okay, so research, what activity can be considered as research? It is extending understanding of scientific principle, or developing new technology, or developing new techniques and processes, improving current practices, developing new insight of the existing knowledge. We have some knowledge, but coming up with a new explanation of that existing knowledge. These all are considered as a research activity. And academic research focuses on knowledge as an end product. Okay, so all dissertations in every level should contribute to knowledge, and which is basically the social benefit for all of us. Okay, there are different type of project we have. We have like a purely research project, and the product of research project is knowledge. We may have purely development project. So this development project and outcomes is product or system, or third way is a combination of research and development. So you develop some research concept, and then that concept you prove by developing product or prototype, and then you prove your technology, and then that basically becomes a technology. Okay, if you go for PhD, probably you are towards this direction, so in towards research direction, and masters and undergraduate projects usually towards the development direction. Okay, but if you want to, but combining both of them is a good idea for project. Okay. So while selecting what kind of project you want to do, you need to consider your interest, your skill background, what kind of skill you have, and your knowledge, and also your future career inspiration. Okay, say if you want to, you're sure if you think that you want to go for PhD or research career, then you can probably take research little towards research side, so that it gives you your opportunity to develop that skill. But if you say sure that you are going to go into industry or in business, then going towards development, little bit development side is useful, because that provides you skill of the developments and technology, so that you can develop required skill for your career inspiration. Okay, one of the difficult tasks is identifying the topic or research area, what to do in project. That you need to think quite early in your study. Okay, and then observe different go through the observation, why a particular experiment's method less than satisfactory. Okay, there are existing methods, experiments, but they are not providing good results. So just investigate why that's the case, and can you provide any solution to that? And that may give you a good research topic. Okay, what can be learned by studying current practice? So we have some current practice. Can you improve this current practice and by providing some improvement solutions? And why are some topics measurements difficult to learn and make? Some topics are quite difficult. So can you come up with some new way of explaining those topics, explanations, and or some measurements are difficult to measure. So can you make a system which can measure some difficult measurements? And also other ways, deriving from other people's work. So you look at the literature in a published work and seek to verify or replicate or refute. Okay, so there is some hypothesis, so you verify that hypothesis, or there is some work, can you replicate that work, or there are some hypotheses, so can you refute that hypothesis? So you're deriving from other people's work, either that could be published work or existing system. Apply existing theory to practice. So we have theory, and can we apply that theory in practice? And that can be a project. Resolve conflicting or contradictory findings. So you may find there are contradictory or conflicting findings. So can you resolve that? One paper says one thing, another paper says other thing. So can we resolve? And that could be the new project for you. And correct methodology in earlier work. So some earlier work may have presented some incorrect methodology, or you think that that's incorrect methodology. So can you provide some proposal to correct them? So that's these observations and derivation can provide some research topic for you for your projects. Okay, topic choice is quite important. While you are thinking of topic, avoid unreachable, unresearchable topic. So there are some topics where it's quite difficult to research. Their data may not be available, and analysis methods may not be available, and topics is simply not amenable to data collections or analysis there. Okay. Also, don't take very trivial topics. That may have your outcome may not have that much valuable. It's very so it's not relevant, and then the value of your work may not be that much for trivial topics. Okay, and also don't take overworked topics. Do you have any new slant there? So can you? Is there any novelty? If it's an overworked topic, then sometimes it's difficult to find contribution, and you may find difficult. So also consider your personal factor. Are you interested with the topic? Are you unbiased there, which is quite important. Do you have background and skill? And do you have facility to do your research, like equipments, tools, participants, if you are doing survey or this, and do you have time on that? Okay. And other general factors, and will the data be adequate, applicable, new, worth having? So these things you need to consider. Okay. And then don't you need to balance as well while you are picking subjects. Don't pick a very ambitious topic. You may not have time to complete the ambitious that ambition. And also at the same time, don't pick up a small topic which may be a very small contribution on that. Okay. And other, with the topic, there is other is supervisor, selection of supervisor. Supervisor is quite important for guiding you, through your research work or through your project. Ideal supervisor should have an extensive supervision experience. Okay, so while you are doing your study in earlier year, just watch lecturers or professors, how their supervision experience, their supervision skill, and so on. And has supervisor an appropriate level of technical knowledge? Do supervisor has a technical knowledge? You need to find out in what area they are working. Okay, and then what technical knowledge they have. Be aware of all university procedure and requirements, and your supervisor should be aware of all university procedure and requirements, so that all requirements can be checked. Okay, and be accessible, flexible, sympathetic, supportive, and constructive, critical. Okay, constructively critical. That's quite important. Some academics you may find very, very difficult to meet. They don't have time, and sometimes they are not interested with a small project. So you need to be careful with that. So find out how accessible the supervisor, some academics are, and also they have time, motivation to work with students' problem. Sometimes where that problem is coming from, that also provides how motivated an academic going to be in your project. Okay, I'll talk in next slide about that. Can supervisor maintain regular contact with students and provide guidance? So that is important part as well. So just watch during your group projects or in your other work in taught modules, where the supervisor is have time and can provide the guidance. And eventually, so one of the supervisor's job is can supervisor advise on career development opportunity. After final year project or your master project, and possibly you are going to go into next stage of your career, and it's supervisors. Supervisor may have a lot of experience, and supervisor should guide you to your career development path. Okay. So for project selection and allocation, you should start thinking early, maybe in your second year or even in your first year. Consider your interests, skill, background knowledge, and your future career aspiration. What you want to be. And there is a different procedure in university, and you can select. Usually, the department has a list of projects. Okay, they publish list of projects, and then you can select one of those projects. Okay, but remember, the popular topics will go very quickly. Okay, the students will select quickly. So you need to be careful, and then be quick on those popular topics if you want to go that way. Okay, use your experience gained from any group projects. For topic selection, you may have done group project in earlier year, and group project provides a lot of experience for you to do your individual project there. Okay, and then contact the proposer and discuss the task expected. So if you find a project in departmental list which is quite interesting for you, then don't hesitate to contact the proposer, the academic who is proposing that. Okay, and then just discuss what is involved in that project, so that you can think whether you have required background for that. Okay, and normally people who proposed, academic who proposed the proposal, going to be supervisor. Not always, sometimes I may propose a project, but I don't have time to supervise, and then someone else going to supervise that project. And that's not ideal situation. If you find supervisor, the proposer of the project is a supervisor, then it's quite easy, and you can understand what he or she was expecting from that project. The other way is, this is one way of selection of the project, and other one is, you trying to find out what are available. Okay, and you contacting academics of ongoing project. In department or research group, there may be some big ongoing research project, and you want to be part of that research project by doing one small piece of bigger project. Okay, if you are going for a research degree later on, or want to be a part of the bigger project, then I think this is a quite good idea. So just find out, is there any self-contained component of a part of a bigger project? You can just contact a professor who has big projects or research, and then identify, is there any small component where you can contribute as a part of the bigger project. Come up with some idea and contact researcher. Look at in your department for ongoing project, and you can think, what can you do, come up with some idea, and then contact like a PhD students or postdoctoral research fellow or academic involved in the project. Other thing is, the other way is, you can propose your own project. Okay, so you can use your experience gained from any placement, and you may have done placement, and then you have seen some problem in the placement area, and you want to solve that problem. So you can create a project for yourself, and also identify who can supervise. If you are proposing a project, you need to identify who can supervise that. So just look at academics expertise, and then I find out the one who can support you. Okay, but you must follow the departmental project allocation procedure. Okay, so the procedure involves like a project proposal and a project specification approval process within the department. You may be doing one particular course, and then whether that your proposal project is related to that course or not. Yeah, so department need to approve that. Also, you need to usually in a project specification stage, marking scheme is agreed. What kind of marking scheme is going to be utilized, who is going to be a supervisor, and who is going to be moderator. That need to be allocated. Supervisor and moderator or assessor should be allocated that, and department may have the some specific procedure for that. You also may need to go through ethical approval process. If you are doing some research which are directly related to human subjects or some of the issues, then you may need to go through ethical approval process. Okay, and also usually department has all these deadlines. So project specification approval deadline, and then interim report deadline, and then final report deadline, or so you must meet those requirements. Okay, so from dissertation, there are certain outcomes, learning outcomes or learning skill we expect there, okay, for masters and undergraduate both project. So some skills are related to knowledge of the topic and related to subject, which we assess what is the quality of research or any artifact you produce, or any product. If you're doing some IT project, your software, if you're developing some software, so that's the quality of research, artifact, and product. And also the intellectual skill, so problem statements, your analysis, and also evaluation of your research there. So have you developed your intellectual skill on the topic? Okay, and also the publication or market product. If you have developed any product, and if you have a very high quality research, you may publish a paper out of that. Even undergraduate project, I have a couple of cases where undergraduate students managed to publish paper there. And also, if you are developing some product, commercial viability or market viability of that product as well, and that represents the quality. Okay. And apart from that, subject or topic related knowledge, we also look for some other transferable skill. So you need to demonstrate this transferable skill through your project work. Okay, that includes research procedure and skill. So you are following proper research procedure. And so Nath is going to talk about research procedure in PhD later on. So you need to follow that procedure. Okay, your academic writing skill. So use project to improve your academic writing skill, and we that is mark actually your assessment will reflect your skill there. Independently working skill. So you are doing independent individual projects, and you are working on your own, and you are demonstrating that I'm capable of managing a project and doing projects. Okay, interpersonal and communication skill. So you are talking with data. You're talking with your supervisor and other fellow, and if you are doing survey, a lot of communications are there. And also the project time and risk management. That's the important. So you are learning how to manage project, how to manage time, and how to manage risk. If you are doing a project and then data is not available, what to do? So you should have thought about all these risks and then also manage time and overall project. Okay. So for project management, you can write at the beginning, divide the project into different tasks, and then produce a Gantt chart planning for that with deliverable and milestone in different stages of the project. Type management, just time management, just to follow departmental time table for interim stage. So there are a couple of different interim stages, and then you must meet those time. Okay, I don't know how much time I have. Right. Okay, that's organizing skill, and usually this is typical time management, project management cycle. Initially, you spend a little bit in preparation, a bit effort, and then your effort goes a bit up, and then when in the middle of the project or towards the end of the project, you put a lot of effort and then complete the project here. Okay, so that's the typical project management cycle. But usually what we find for students, this is the project management cycle. Yeah, so students don't do much work at the during the time, and then not sleeping towards the end of submission deadline, and then putting a lot of effort there. Okay, this is typical students project time management. But try to go this way. Okay, if you can. But I know. I know the working style of students, and leaving everything towards the end of the project, and if something goes wrong here, you need to you just compromise in quality. Okay. Okay, this is dissertation writing here. So usually dissertation, you have chapter like this in introduction, and second chapter usually research review. You talk about theory, methodology, algorithm in third chapter, and you present your simulation, experimentation, results and discussion, and so on. Okay, so these are typical thesis structure here. Depending upon, and if you are doing PhD, then there may be a couple of chapters in simulation and experiments, or theory and methodology there. Okay, so this is typical chapter, and usually what you do, you start 2 to 6 first, and write the introduction section the last, and then your abstract and title towards the last once you have done all your work here. Okay, so just this is final tips. I'm going to stop there. So your university web pages may offer guidance for writing your UG, master, and PhD thesis. So you must consider that. Okay, explore the recent thesis, and that gives you and they may be available in library or digital form. So that provides you a lot of information, structure, and so on. And discuss and take advice from your supervisor. And proofreading is other, check your spelling, grammar, punctuation, page number, references, all this. And this is a typical guide for thesis length. Okay, if it is little less than this or little more than that, it doesn't matter. But usually UG undergraduate project are 50 to 75 pages. MNs or MSc projects 60 to 100, and then MPhil 100 to 150, and PhD 150 to 300 pages. Okay, so that's just the guidelines here. And then this is a very important aspect here. Check plagiarism. There are a lot of tools available now to check plagiarism, and plagiarism constitutes a serious academic offense, and it's your responsibility to maintain that. Okay, so just be careful while you are referring other people's work and taking work from other people. You must acknowledge and clearly say, this is not my work. Okay. Okay, so sorry, I think I took a little longer. So I'm going to stop here and pass on to Humna sir. And if you have any questions, yeah, I'll be here to answer later on.
Thank you very much, Professor Keshav Dahal. I would like to introduce Professor Nath Dhakal again. Professor Nath Dhakal is a professor of mechanical engineering at the School of Mechanical and Design Engineering, University of Portsmouth, UK. In addition, he is also a visiting professor of bio-based materials at the Faculty of Textile Engineering and Business, University of Bora, Sweden. He leads the Advanced Polymer and Composites Research Group within the School of Mechanical and Design Engineering. His principal research interest lies in the design, development, testing, and characterization of sustainable lightweight composites, nanocomposites, natural fiber composites, and biocomposites, including their material, thermal, and environmental properties. He has published in over 160 international peer-reviewed journals, including books chapter, and conference proceeding. He has been a guest editor for a number of journals and a member of editorial board of the Journal of Composite Science, Journal of Research on Engineering Structures and Materials, and the Journal of Molecules. Professor Dahal has over 3,675 citations with an H index of 30, according to Google Scholar, and ResearchGate score of 35.88, higher than 95% of all ResearchGate members. He also serves as a member of scientific committee and as an evaluator of various research projects. He has successfully supervised many PhD as a director of study and been an external examiner for numerous PhD nationally and internationally. He has coordinated and chaired a number of international conferences and presented invited and key talk notes in the field of sustainable composite and biocomposite. Professor Dahal is a fellow of Higher Education Academy, chartered engineer, a fellow of the Institution of Engineering and Technology, fellow of the Institute of Materials, Minerals and Mining, and a member of American Society for Composite. I would like to please welcome Professor Homnath Dhakal.
Thank you, Mohammed Ji, for my introduction. True introduction, much appreciated. Maybe that was not needed, but I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Well, Keshav sir, thank you so much for giving fundamental, important topics already. So that has made my life a lot easy. So Roshan sir, if you allow me to share my screen.
I think you can share, sir.
Okay, that is wonderful. Thank you. Let me go to PowerPoint mode if I can. Okay, I'm trying to do that. Okay. Can you see my screen? Okay,
yes,
wonderful.
sir, yeah.
Thank you very much. Again, it has been wonderful being together with you. I first of all would like to congratulate our youth team in SONEUK UK. I think they are very enthusiastic, very passionate what they are doing. That inspire us, to work for the society. So again, it has been a wonderful pleasure, obviously, working together with Keshav sir. We have been together since Institute of Engineering, Pulso campus. So we have got a long relationship, not only professional, but also we have got family relationships. So while preparing this presentation, we had interaction between us. So I will not be trying to cover what sir has already covered, but there will be some overlap because there are bound to be some overlap. And if there are some overlap, just consider that it is an important topic that being overlapped. Well, I come from University of Portsmouth. Portsmouth is located in the south coast of England. I think most of you know. And University of Portsmouth is a modern university we call research-led teaching university. So we got gold standard for our teaching, and also we have got quite good international standard for our research. So I belong to a research group called Advanced Polymers and Composites Research Group, which research group I lead. We have about 20 academics working on different fields, especially focusing on sustainable composite materials, nano-composite materials, aimed at applying these materials in key industrial sectors such as aerospace, automotive, marine, and construction sector. So it is always wonderful to be in the company of so many engineers. So advice on writing a PhD thesis, examiner's perspective, that is the title that I'm going to share with you. I'm going to say that title is so important in PhD thesis, equally important for MPhil, master's or undergraduate thesis, dissertation. So this is my title. I hope I could have easily put examiner's perspective and supervisor's perspective, students' perspective. So PhD is not only one-sided; it is a multifaceted activity. So, but I have chosen examiner's perspective. When I looked my profile this morning, I found that I examined about 25 PhDs, including UK and outside UK, Europe, North America, India. And then I had examined about 15 internal PhD examinations. So I thought examiner's perspective would best suited for this title. Very quick outline, introduction, context, difference between dissertation and thesis. Keshav sir has explained very well, so I'm not spending time on that. Let me put my stopwatch. I'm trying to stay within allocated time. So I have started. So whatever I have used time so far, so please forgive me. So defining PhD, and then obviously student-supervisor relationships is so important while you are doing PhD. And what are the mutual expectations between supervisors and students is very important. And then I also have put one topic, that is critical success factors for a successful PhD. I think this will be very interesting for all of you, those who are doing research and trying to go for PhD research. And then writing a good thesis. Obviously, there will be some tips as well. And then obviously how examiners look the PhD thesis, and then summary. So first part, job done. Keshav sir, thank you very much. Dissertation and thesis. Obviously, dissertation for master's project. Thesis is PhD project. So master's projects are about 6 months long. So they have got a lot less credit than PhD thesis. So you are adding 6 months to almost 3 to 4 years. So you can see the volume in terms of dissertation and thesis. So dissertation goes to master's, thesis goes to PhD research. So sometimes we use interchangeably, dissertation and doctoral thesis. Whatever, there is an expectation from higher education institutions for PhD, for masters, for undergraduate research. So my focus is mainly for PhD. So again, I'll be talking about examiners' perspectives and writing a good thesis. But very quickly, what is PhD thesis? Ability to carry out research independently. So here, one key word is independent. You are working for 4 years on your own. That is very challenging task. It's a very daunting task, to be honest. 3 to 4 years. Although the duration of PhD in the UK standard is 3 years, I have hardly seen anybody completing within 3 years. Normally it takes 3 to 3.5 or 4 years. Sometimes it even goes beyond 4 years. So 4 years you are doing independent research. And then you have to meet the standard from FSUEQ. So there's a higher education qualification standard. So if you go to PhD, it's a 540 credits. MPhil 360 credits. For master's 180 credits, for example. Dissertation has got about 70, 80 credits depending on universities. So bachelor degree has 360 credits. So undergraduate project have 30 credits. So what I'm trying to do to show here is that PhD has got a massive amount of credits. That is no wonder why it has got 3 to 4 years for completion. And then obviously you have to apply, when you are doing PhD, you are trying to integrate the knowledge which is available in the field. They are already there, but maybe they are isolated, and you're trying to bring them together. And then trying to apply knowledge to solve the problem, and then or maybe application procedures, which Keshav are also sort of research-led and the development-led type of work. So further, what is PhD? Research in a particular area, 3 to 4 years independently. At least one new discovery or new knowledge is required for PhD. So whenever I go for PhD examination, obviously before you go for examination, you receive thesis. And I flip the thesis pages, and then I always like to see from the title page, and then go to all the preambles, abstract, acknowledgement, list of table, list of figures, and then you have got table of contents, then you have got chapter 1 introduction, and then literature review. By the time I reach literature review, I already know what kind of thesis this is, where this thesis is leading. Is it leading to be a good thesis, or it is not leading to be a good thesis? Okay, so discovery is very important. New knowledge is very important. So that is so high quality presentation is very important, and then obviously visible output. So I also look, especially in chapter 1, where are the publications? So before I go to PhD Viva, if I have gone to an examination as an external examiner where the PhD thesis has produced 2 to 3 publications, I feel so happy. I'm going there, I'm going to have an amazing time. I'm going to have discussion with PhD students in the topic I love, the topic I like. So that is, I look forward for that. But if there are no publication, no output, no visible outputs, 4 years of work, there's no paper published, no scientific papers, no conference attendance, I feel almost like scared to go for Viva. But one thing, PhD examiners would like to go to Viva to pass the student, not to fail. So can you see the dilemma, the challenge? So a thesis must have visible outputs, that is either paper, mainly we expect papers, published paper. And then obviously in the Viva is basically discussion between PhD researcher and the two independent experts. That is external examiner and internal examiner. You know, the role of external examiner for PhD is that he is upholding the discipline, whether the work has conducted meets the standard in that discipline. That is his responsibility. But internal examiner may not be the subject expert, but his role is to uphold his institution's credibility, whether PhD has met that requirement. Can you see the two different expectations, but overall the quality of PhD? So sometimes you also have independent chair, depending on who is your external examiner. If external examiner is fairly new external examiner in the field, sometimes they may also appoint independent chair. He may not be the subject expert, but he will just help to run smoothly the PhD Viva process. Okay, way to, you know, if there's any comfort break required, maybe if there's a very challenging question being put by external examiner all the time, constantly bombarding question to a PhD candidate, and he might feel nervous, then maybe at that point he might feel that, okay, we need some break. So that is the role of independent chair, just to make sure that thesis is, or PhD Viva is conducted in a smooth manner. And then obviously you have to defend the thesis. Thesis is defended. So this is what the main elements of PhD. Can you see here very quickly 3 key words: new discovery, independent work, and you have to defend. What you have achieved, what you have done, you have to defend. So there will be different types of questions coming within that topic from external examiner, from internal examiner. You have to be able to defend. So we have got undergraduate study, first year, second year, third year. Third year we call level 6. We got a master, we call level 7, and PhD we call level 8. So according to FSEQ, level 8 is make a significant and original contribution to a specialized field of inquiry, demonstrating a command of methodological issues and engaging in critical research, critical dialogue with peers, and accepting full accountability for outcomes. So that is, again, what PhD expects. Okay, let's move on. What are the key elements in PhD research? Obviously, it's scholarly work of academics, so there is a PhD supervisor involved. Novelty, again, I bring this aspect, new discovery, rigorous investigation of what has yet to be known. So you are working in a field, there are so many things unknown, but you are trying to bring that through the PhD. So the new knowledge that contributes advances into the field or to the body of knowledge through an output, could be journal paper, could be process, could be methodology, and so on. And self-contained is your work, solely your work. And then obviously you bring some other materials together and you try to apply this. Okay. So for a successful PhD, the role of supervisor is pivotal. If you end up not having good supervisor, you are in a big trouble. Okay, so who is supervisor then? Keshav sir has already brought briefly, what are the roles of supervisors. So I'm just trying to elaborate that. Ideally, an expert in the field related to students' interest. So if you are, taking a PhD student, you must know the topic. Obviously, he must be an active researcher. So he has established record in the field, and he is currently producing research. Obviously, he's a busy academic, but still he has passion for the research. So he will find the time for you. So that is the person, supervising your project. So Keshav sir mentioned earlier, when you choose a project, you must be careful who is your supervisor. Does he have time? Is he passionate about his topic? or he's just taking the topic for the sake of topic. You need to find that out. There are different ways to find that out, but you need to find that out. Obviously, you will have some lecturers teaching you, or there will be publication. You can go to staff portal and look the profile of particular professor or lecturer, whoever. You can find out, this aspect. Again, supervisor. Why? PhD supervision is a very wonderful opportunity. I have supervised many PhD students. I always enjoy, because you are working in a new discovery and you are guiding somebody, you are mentoring somebody, you are creating a relationship with somebody, so you are helping a person to achieve his aspiration. So it gives you opportunity to share what you have accumulated, knowledge, wisdom during many years of your research. And then obviously you foster new knowledge in the field. You get more publications. Because we do PhD supervision, expecting your PhD scholar will produce some outputs. That's why you give your time. Your time is very precious. So you have to plan in a way that you have to choose the topic in a way it has got some novelty aspect. You have to choose student in a way that can, he can produce something from that PhD. Okay, so that is very important. You get more publications. To get someone to be partner and develop your research idea, sometimes you work with industry, sometimes you work with other institutions. So being a PhD supervision is very beneficial. You have networking, and obviously to help your promotion, promotion prospect. You have to in UK system. If you are lecturer, senior lecturer, if you have certain amount of PhD supervision, if you have produced some papers and completed some PhD as a first supervisor, you have got easy next step for promotion. Okay, if you are a reader, one of the criteria is you have to have supervision experience. You must have produced some PhD scholar. You must have supervised some PhD student, either as a first supervisor or in a supervisory team. Normally, when you have PhD supervisor, you have 3 supervisors. First supervisor, in postmod we call director of studies, and you have second supervisor, and then you have third supervisor. Depending on their expertise and the role, first supervisor is the more responsible person. Second supervisor can come, in different meetings and give input to students. Third supervisor may be helping in a coordination of meeting and so on. He may not be necessarily very subject expert, but he can be subject expert as well. And then obviously, if you have got supervision experience, research experience, you can obtain grants. Okay, you can improve your track record. So from this, if I want to be a supervisor, I want from my student at least 2-3 publications. My policy is like this. Mostly works. If you are going to for a PhD viva, you must have at least 2 to 3 publications. You must have gone to 1 or 2 conferences. You must have presented papers in conferences. So that gives student expectation, challenge and what is expected from them. So again, previous slide, this slide, why be a supervisor? And then relationships. So the role of supervisor is to provide regular, consistent supervision, mentoring, guidance, and training for postgraduate research students. So it's a relationship is the very heart of the degree. Obviously, there must be common ground and compatibility. I can give you one example. I had one PhD researcher with me, working with me as a director of studies. So he finished PhD. During his PhD, he produced 5 publications, 5 papers. Very active, very enthusiastic, very committed researcher. 5 papers is a really extremely outstanding. Then I wanted to have him with me continuously. So he worked with me as a postdoc researcher for nearly a year. He produced a few more papers. Then obviously I looked at his profile and then he was ready to go for academic ladder, from research ladder. So he applied for lecturer position. He got that position. Now he's a senior lecturer in a very reputed university. I feel so happy that I work with him. He was my PhD scholar. I mentor him. I develop him. I empower him. Now he's leading a good research group. Is one of the main contributors in the big research group. So that is the satisfaction you obtain from PhD. So you are building people, mentoring, supervision is the heart of PhD work. That is what I like about PhD. You can build people. You can build person. Okay, so that is the relationship between PhD supervisor and student PhD researcher. Okay, expectation. What student expect from the supervisor? Is it very clear? Experience. He must have past and current research experience, must have good track record. Obviously, he is willing to provide feedback at various stages, which is very important, and he must be available. You know, if you have some issue, you have to be able to go to him. You should be able to get advice and support, and he gives you constructive criticism. That is so important in PhD. So you are willing to give criticism, and then you should be able to give criticism. Obviously, as a helping hand. Obviously, you don't want to go to a supervisor who is about to leave or who is about to retire. So you have to know that as well. Okay, so what do we expect from our PhD scholars? So students have some expectation from their supervisors, and what are the supervisors have expectation from their students? Well, you must have some capacity, enthusiasm, and passion for research. That's important. And then you should be able to work independently and taking the responsibility. In the end, the PhD is yours. And then obviously maintain the professionalism. If you have arranged a meeting, a certain time, certain day, he turns up. You know, he comes, he prepares for the meeting. So and also sticks the deadlines. It's very important because PhD research is a project. You have start time, you have finish time, and you have got activities. Some activities are critical activities, like Keshav sir was showing the project management, you know, the effort, and then what you achieve, and then how you complete your project. So there are deadlines. There are times you need to meet the deadlines. So that is very important. And they're responsive. If you send email, at least he replies, you know, your email, and hardworking. And focus on outputs, and then he is willing to become an independent researcher, and then obviously he takes the ownership of the project. So if there are clear mutual expectations, PhD research becomes very easy. I know what I'm expecting from my student. He knows what is he expecting from me. So we have clear expectation decided, and that is very important. Obviously, then you have to manage the expectation. You know, sometimes you might be, you know, trying to make very enthusiastic PhD project. You want to publish 10 papers, it's not possible. That should be reasonable and attainable. You know, sometimes you might come very amazing idea, oh, I want to do that, but in a realistic way, that may be not possible. Okay, so understanding is very important. And then solution to calibrate expectation is important. And then obviously you have to use structured approach. So managing expectation is important. Okay, here I have few slides. I cannot see my title, although I know what are the title. If I can move this box somewhere, okay, right, maybe I can move here, maybe here, okay, yeah. Recruitment and planning is very important. To find a good student is important because you want to know what is that student's expectation. What does that student want to be? Why he or she is coming for this research? It's important to understand that. And then it's important to make a supervision team. And then obviously assign the roles. Sometimes it can be a little bit ambitious in the beginning, but as you go along, then you can refine the PhD project. So obviously make as detailed as possible the PhD proposal. And then the one thing I always like to you know, give priority or emphasize is that clear aims and objectives and methodology. What are the aims and objectives? Although there has to be robust aims and objectives, but at the same time, there have to be adaptability because PhD is a project. project never goes as planned. You might have to, change during the implementation period, hopefully within the first year, not in the second or third year. So you have to have clear-cut aims and objectives, robust aims and objectives and plans, but at the same time, if required, you should be able to adjust that. So that is the number one critical success factor. So CSFS, critical success factors for PhD thesis, is that recruitment and planning. Okay. Number two, the first year is very crucial. What are you trying to achieve? Let me see my time. Okay, 20 minutes gone, so I have 10 more minutes. Okay, so set your expectations, as I mentioned earlier. Manage your time carefully, time and input carefully. So ensure that the team knows procedures. Keshav sir was mentioning earlier, what are the processes and procedures in PhD. If you have to, every end of first year, you have got a major review, and every year you have got annual review, how to fill the forms, and all this you have to be familiar. Obviously, you have to maintain the detailed timetable. It's important. Be explicit about, when you are doing PhD, okay, let's say this is expected outcomes, this is the aims and objectives, these are the different topics we are looking together. So these are the papers we are trying to bring. So that is a rough idea. And then who will be the author? Normally, PhD, we should encourage as a supervisor, the student should be first author. That is their work. We are there to support them. Okay, so we explicitly mentioned that, okay, you are going to be first author. These are the roles of first author. These are the roles of other authors or supervisory team. This is how we are going to support you, but this is your role. And then you mentioned, okay, at the end of your first year, you have got a major review. You need to pass that. In the UK system, even you enroll for PhD, you don't enroll PhD until you pass your major review. If you fail in your major review, you cannot go to PhD. You might just, leave just having an MPhil. So make this all clear in the first year. So that is critical success factors 2. Critical success factor 3, second year is the key. We call the second year blues, It is very important time that student gets support and he is very motivated. Provide feedback. I always call appreciative inquiry. When I have meeting with my PhD researchers, I first acknowledge what they have achieved so far. I say, well done, you have done this part, it's really good, great, but how about doing this way? So don't go to the negative aspect first, appreciate first what they have done, and then put your point forward. That is how I find very useful, because they are already in stress. They're already kind of fearful. Second year, they come to you, meeting to you. They may not have achieved what they wanted to achieve, what they're supposed to achieve, but they have achieved something. But appreciate for something they have achieved, and then give them feedback. So that is very important. And then obviously working on a publication and a conference is very important. So that is the second year. Handing over the responsibilities. It's your PhD, you are producing papers, you are the first author, but provide the support. And then critical success factors 4, third and fourth years. Obviously, you try to finish your PhD in 3 years. We have in the University of Portsmouth a very strict rule. We are encouraged to finish all PhDs within 3 years. So if you go to fourth year, our research degree office feels not very happy. So we have to be very careful. But obviously there are certain situations you might have to go to fourth year. Okay, so the students need to know what are the topics, what is involved in their thesis. What are the deadlines for chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4? Are you meeting every week? Are you meeting twice a week? What are you getting from the student? What are you giving feedback? Are you editing? Are you correcting? Are you making he or she presenting to the supervisory team every 2 weeks? So we need to be clear for that. But obviously you have to be available. Obviously you can't be 24/7. And also you need to know where to stop. The PhD is something you can go on and on and on. if I remember my PhD, I was a mature student. There's extra pressure for a mature student to do a PhD. Your supervisor thinks you know almost everything what you are doing. You have got less supervision from your supervisor, and you have challenge to finish on time. If I had done my PhD further another 3 months, I would have been ill. Not only I would have been ill, my wife would have been ill as well. So PhD is a very pressure, very time-consuming, very stressful job. Okay, so we need to know where to stop. And also it depends on the supervisor. Supervisor also should guide you on where to stop. Have you achieved your aims and objectives? Have you found your answer for your research questions? You had research questions. That's why you did this PhD. Have you found the answer? Okay, right. So that is CSFS4, critical success factor 4. And then 5 is final, continuing, the end game. You have to prepare for the viva. You have to prepare for the thesis, or complete the thesis. And then obviously you have to talk with your student, researcher, scholar that, okay, what are the opportunities? Do you have some opportunity in the research group, or do they need to go somewhere else? Just try to help. And then obviously you have to go for examiners, internal examiner and external examiners. Maybe it will be worth mentioning to you those, many of you have experience of undertaking PhD. Maybe those young researchers who are doing masters currently, or undergraduate projects, aim to do masters, or maybe aim to do MPhil. We have to select external examiner. That is the main person. He's the chair of the exam of PhD. So we have to find a person who has got expertise in the field and who is a reputed person. Okay, so we need to find that. So we normally propose PhD external examiner to research degree office, and they approach to the person, and the person will say, okay, I will accept this responsibility, or I will not accept this responsibility. And once you know the PhD examiner, then you send thesis within certain time. Right. So that was different critical success factors. Now I like to spend some time how to write a good thesis. I might have to take a few more minutes if you allow me. Before starting writing PhD, you need to understand what are the format, what are the expectations from the university. You need to read relevant information. Okay, how the thesis are. Keshav sir had just shown the the contents, abstract, how they are placed. So just try to understand that. Then you go to you start writing. Make a careful plan. Okay, talk to your supervisor. Make schedule when to meet, when you are presenting your chapters, how you are getting feedback. Do you have a common folder, maybe Google Drive folder? How you are communicating? That's very important. And then structure of your thesis is very important. Thesis title is very important. I have been external examiner. I think about 5% or maybe 7% of PhD theses after the viva or during the viva, we have changed the title. Okay, so title is very important. It should be self-explanatory. It is a big signpost. Okay, you don't need to overclaim, but you have to be also not underselling it. You have to tell what are you doing, what you have done. So I have given 4 titles here, just an example. So title number 1, post-impact flexural collapse models or modes of natural fiber composite structure using an artificial condition, analytical and experimental modeling. So by reading the title, you can find out where are the focus. Is the title overclaiming, or is the title underselling? Okay, so this will be determined after reading the thesis. So you read the thesis and you go back to title and see whether that title reflects what is in the thesis. Okay, so I have given some example here. So collapse mode of natural fiber composite here, properties, flexural after impact, impact behavior, failure mechanisms. So by reading your thesis, I mean, the examiner will find this out, what will be the best title. So just focus on that before submitting your thesis. That's my point. And then summary is very important. Abstract is very important. What is thesis about? how it has been undertaken, what are the key findings, and what are the implications that has to be reflected in abstract. Okay, so what is the PhD about? How it has been done, that is the methodology, is very important. And what are the key findings from the thesis, and who are going to be benefited? Why did you do that? What is the implications? So that is very important to highlight in abstract. This is one of the papers abstract. So many papers have a word limit for abstract. For example, many composite related journal papers, they have 250 words abstract for one journal, maybe about 8,000 words. But your PhD, your technical PhD, engineering PhD is worth of about 50,000 words. So 8,000 words of paper has got 250 words of abstract. So you can put the ratio for 50,000 words of PhD thesis, your abstract should be quite comprehensive. Okay? So abstract should be very important. The introduction chapter, putting context. What is the problem area? Why? What is the motivation? What are the hypotheses? What are the assumptions? What are the clear aims and objectives? Must be presented in introduction chapter. So you have to use certain literature to explain, to convince, and there is the right beginning of your research. And also you have to highlight in introduction chapter, what is the contribution that thesis is going to make. Very important introduction chapter. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, by reading introduction chapter and by reading literature review, the examiner will find out what kind of PhD thesis is. So try to make impact right in the two chapters, introduction and literature review. Obviously, in the literature review, you are reviewing the work already undertaken in the field. They may be in a very compartmentalized way. So you are trying to bring them together as it requires for your PhD. Okay, you cannot just bring one review paper or another paper putting together. It has to be sequential, and there has to be a thread following, and that has to support your PhD work. So the literature review is another very important aspect. Engaging with literature is a key aspect of PhD work. Who has done what? How they have done? What are their findings? What are their conclusions? Need to look at very carefully. And from there, you are trying to make the gap. You are trying to find the gap or gaps. So at the end of the literature review, I always like to see from PhD thesis, there is a summary gap, research gap. And that gap is addressed in your introduction chapter, aims and objectives. Can you see the link between introduction chapter and literature review chapter? Okay, so, and methodology is very important, because if you have not used correct methodology, all your findings are almost valueless. Okay? So the PhD examiner would like to find out, build what is the finding based on, what is the methodology used, what is the standard used to make this test, have they followed certain standards, what is the standard deviation, is there design of experiment detail or not? So that has to be well articulated in the methodology chapter. Because if the methodology is not right, everything is not right. There's no point in spending whole time writing a thesis where the methodology is not correct. So it's very important that methodology is correct. And then you go to results and discussion. Engage with your findings. If you have correct methodology, your results are good. You can talk about these results. Okay, so when you are discussing your results, obviously make consistent effort to discuss them, to criticize, I say always cross-referencing. What are the similar type of work being done by other people, other literature, other work? Does that agree with your findings, or does that contradict with your findings? It's fine, it doesn't need to be agreed, it can contradict, but why? Try to reason it. So result and discussion is a critical discussion, is very important. You have to bring the result obtained from this test so that this. However, the work carried out by this So that this could be because of that. Bring the idea, discuss it, bring the discussion, engage with the literature. That is what PhD examiner will seek to find from your thesis. If there is no discussion, if there is no cross references, it is incomplete thesis. How do I feel comfortable? How do I feel confident? How credible that thesis? I don't know. And then obviously conclusion and recommendation is very important. From your findings, what can you conclude? What can you confirm to the readers? What have you contributed? Okay, that is very important. Again, you have to reiterate, convince your examiners that your thesis has made a significant contribution in the body of knowledge in that particular field. It could be new methodology, it could be new materials, it could be new process, it could be new. So something discovery has taken place in your thesis. You have found something new. You have to again articulate that in your conclusion. You can write in a bullet point, you can write some statement, and then obviously you have to write future work because PhD has certain time. It's a project, you have to start it, finish it. You may not be able to complete all what you wanted, but you want to write something for the future researchers who might be willing to do or carry on or developing further on the research of your topic. So what can we advise to them? Write the future work. This study has found this. However, due to this, the future research can be undertaken by considering this aspect. And also don't forget to write the limitation of your thesis. PhD thesis is not always the success. There could be some limitations, but highlight that. In a PhD viva, most of the PhD examiners always, obviously there are different questions they ask. In the end, they ask, if you have to do similar work again, how differently will you do? Or what differently will you do? So the reason why they have asked that question is, will the PhD researcher or scholar know some limitation of his work or her work? Are they honest to accept that there is some limitations? If I had enough time, I would have tackled that, but I hadn't had enough time. So there has to be that aspect as well. So now I'd like to go to examiner's perspective. So what they are looking, what do you want to see in the thesis? Expectation is that you want to go to PhD examination to pass, not to fail. Sometimes a PhD scholar is scared with external examiner. Okay, it's good to be scared, to be good to be aware, but bear in mind they come there to pass you, not to fail you. I always go to PhD viva, PhD examination with a mind, I'm going to help this student. Sometimes when they start PhD viva, they say, well, I had a chance to read your thesis. I thoroughly enjoy reading your thesis. But that statement will only come if the thesis has all the aspects that I mentioned. There's the outputs, there are 2-3 publications, there is everything there. So in that case, the examiner will say, I thoroughly enjoy reading your thesis. We are here to improve your thesis. Sometimes they even go that far, that sentence, if the thesis is extremely great. Okay? And then obviously, the examiners are consistent. You are expert in the field. Okay, I don't go to one exam and I ask massively just unrelated question, and then another exam I go and I ask a very nice question. It's not like that. They are consistent in their approach. They have done so many examinations. So you need to know that. Examiner is a reader, academic reader. He's reading your work. Okay? So that is what examiner will do. So they will have done their exam, similar kind of examination before. They will have consistent view. One thing I get very annoyed is structure and errors. Sometimes they have used 12 font, sometimes they have used 10 font size. Sometimes they use 1.5 page margin, sometimes they have used 2, double spacing. They need to follow consistent in those aspects. If those errors are found, PhD examiner gets very irritated. And you know what happens then? He will start finding the soft place to poke you, to start asking questions, to make you trouble. It's like a dentist. What dentists will do when they find the soft place, they will start doing something there. don't give that room for external exam. They get very irritated. You know, like writing a paper. You know, I review so many papers. When I read papers, a composite materials paper, and they write the composite materials, they don't write a volume fraction. What was the fiber volume fraction? Very key, important information. How do I compare if they have not mentioned fiber volume fraction? You know, the methodology they have used should be replicatable. You know, somebody has to read, somebody can replicate that. If there's a vague explanation, they get irritated. Many papers are rejected just because not the poor work that has been done in that paper or thesis, because it is very inconsistent. Okay? So as I said, from first or second chapter, the examiner will have something in his mind about you, about your work. And that's the important, it reads well. And then they get upset, disjointed work. Presentation is very important. And then again, engaging with literature is so important in PhD. Engaging with literature is so important in PhD. Two more, let me just see what was my time. Okay, my time just, okay. Oh, I need to stop, give me 2 minutes. Approach, methodology, are they convincing? Are there enough cross-reference? Are there any novelty aspect, new discovery? Is the thesis publishable? I'm talking about if the papers have not already published. You know, thesis has different compartment, different chapters, different topics. So you can publish 4 or 5 papers from one thesis. When I finished my PhD, I had 3 papers from my PhD. And one of the papers had been most cited papers in my field. That has already got 1,200 citations from one paper published in Composite Science and Technology, which is one of the reported journals in our field. So that was my 3rd paper from my PhD. Okay. So you know, you feel very proud about your work. And then one thing you have to remember, the examiner will provide you feedback. There are 2 types of feedback: formative during the PhD viva and summative at the end of the viva. They will give you nice instruction. You need to improve that. You need to improve that because they want to build you as a researcher. They will even give you tips how to, you know, write your papers from your PhD. Maybe you can write this section from this. So they are there to help you. Okay, so there are obligatory requests. Sometimes they are mandatory correction. Sometimes they are not compulsory correction. If you do that, your thesis will be really good. Okay, sometimes they get many comments. You know, when I submit papers, journal papers, the reviewer 1, reviewer 2, reviewer 3 give bombardment of comments. I sometimes even don't like to read those comments. So many comments. Oh, what is this? Is my work not good? No. Even your work is good. There might be so many comments. Okay, it doesn't mean that if there are so many comments, your work is not good. Okay, there will be still, and then obviously it's not very personal to you. It's to your work. It's about thesis, not about you. So then when you have all this, you know, viva is so important, and then obviously go to the next. So this is my final statement. I cannot read all this because there is some hidden things, but I think I can do it. Okay. A PhD is an exhausting emotional struggle. You are forced, you confront so many fears. There are insecurities, and sometimes there are doubts. When you go to your PhD supervisor, sometimes you can come back from his office very disheartened, very dismotivated. Okay, but you have to overcome that. It's terrifying, but the bravery is required. Sometimes you do very hard work, it goes unnoticed. But if you follow the business principles, the profit will follow you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor Dhakal and Professor Dahal, for your valuable presentations and for sharing your knowledge with us. I'm sure our students learned a lot. We're now going to see presentations from our students' perspective. Therefore, I would like to hand over this program to Mr. Ansari for his presentations of his dissertation on aerospace and civil engineering.
Thank you very much. Is it possible for me to share the screen, please?
Mr. Ansari, there's no need to request. Everyone can share the screen now. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Okay. Okay, so basically, I would like to approach my presentation in terms of how and what I did during my dissertation. Although Professor Keshav and Professor Hemnath sir mentioned from their point of view from academic, but as a student, obviously, we have too much of information that we struggle through while we are doing our dissertation, what to do and what not to do, and we sometimes get to a point saying that we almost give up. So the key here is also, as our professor said, understanding what your topic is all about. So read your topic again and again, and every time or every point that you are confused in your dissertation, make sure what you are trying to do. So always going back to the your topic of your dissertation is the key. And when you starting it, also understand the justification context of what your research is justification. So I'll be showing you a few examples of my two dissertations from aerospace and master research, and both of them I had justified and well, context and justification of the research. So that was the one of the main thing that I did, and then after, obviously, research aim, objective, and question. So few of the key things which I tried to do was when I was writing any of my dissertation, I wanted to make sure I got every aspect covered. So how I approached it, I started looking at the PhD, actually a thesis, and I tried to acquire knowledge. What are those things that I could utilize towards my dissertation? So what I did was I read so many PhD papers and what's the best way to present my paper, and that's one of the key aspects when you write your dissertation or thesis. So obviously now the dissertation the content will vary from your thesis to thesis. For example, uh, for example, like one of my dissertation research design was very complicated here, and every aspect where I looked at, I was so confused, and that's where the key was to going back to supervisor and saying what exactly you are doing, and understanding what, why, and how you are doing it. So obviously this was the key for me, and making note for every journal that you found useful. So one of the way I was trying to manage datas for all my research was I was saving them as a PDF, or even for a journal or a book that I read, I used to make a file for just that journal, and what is good on that paper that I want to utilize it, I used to write it down. So I had a different pile of paper where I could extract those knowledge towards writing my dissertation. That's another thing that I did, which was very helpful in terms of compiling all this information and justifying of how you are doing it and why you are doing it. So while you are doing it, obviously, the as you say, just introduction is something that you write down at the last. But while you write down this at the last, it's also important to work a little bit at a time. So this is where I started doing. I try to link each of these chapters. So all of my chapter of my dissertation for my dissertation was linked. Like, okay, in chapter 2, my literature review, this is what I would like to do, and this will lead to methodology, how I'm gonna justify my methodology and which type of methodology I'm choosing it. Again, if you are as professor earlier said, methodology is one of the key aspects. So methodology is like, if you are wrong in methodology, then either you will no matter how good you do it, but you are not exactly producing what you're trying to do. So it's again going back to the question of what you are trying to do. Go back to your topic again and again. Go back to your research topic, and the topic again will change. My topic was completely different, and by the time I wrote down this paper, even uh, it was completely different. So don't be a bit upset saying that, okay, this is what I wanted to do, but I have changed my topic, is gonna hamper. At the end of the day, I think what so again, if I'm wrong, please, Professor, advise me and guide me. So what I understood here was it was not like the professor are not looking for you to produce something literally like, for a bachelor degree, something amazing. They are just trying to see your methodology and your way of working, how you can produce work. right? And this is what you are there to show, like, okay, I have done this and I have justified what I have done it, and I have looked into all of these aspects. That was the key. And obviously analyzing it, again, similar way, you try and analyze. If you're analyzing in certain way, you justify. Everything comes back to justification, and you are cross-linking it to each and other chapter. That was the key. And another thing that what I also did was, yeah, research design. So another thing is, like, obviously make a pie chart, or a flow chart for yourself, saying that where you are, what are the information you are missing. So obviously you have a board for yourself, you know, what information you are missing, where exactly you are going. Although uh, at the end of the day, what will happen is, like, each of these, because of so much of vast information and so many things that you wish to write, you will be confused, right? Go and talk to lecturer saying that, okay, I'm having a struggling this one. So this is where your supervisor will help you, and obviously you say them where, how you reached that point, and how you had approached it, and what you're trying to do, and supervisor will guide you. Because one of the thing that I have understood is, most of the supervisor, most of the time, they are saying to student, this is what you are doing, right? So if you already know this is what you are doing, then it becomes, supervisor just becomes much more easier, and you are able to progress further ahead, right? And that's the one of the key. And one of the thing that I also want to mention, while I was doing my research, this I have also seen in master's student who struggle, is referencing. Now I want to show you a very quick way to do a referencing. I have actually got a paper of Mr. Dhakal here. So obviously you go to the Google Scholar here. What you do is go to Google Scholar and just type in the paper that you wish to do, right? Here you got this this thing here. You click on that, and these are your different referencing that you do. At the same time, university will have their own referencing standard, whether it's a Harvard or something specific to university, and you can link them that programs through these, for example, referral walk, refman. So if you talk to you know, your lecturers, there will be department who will help you guide these things. And I had a reference about 170 something papers for my master research, and I managed to do it in a day. But there are some students who are doing their bachelor's degree, and they are struggling just to you know, do the reference for about 40 papers. So the key is, work smart where you have to work smart, and work hard where you have to work hard. So they are already provision provided and structure in place for by the university to support you, to help you on how you can progress ahead and do it better. So this is these are some of my humble informations that I acquired while I was doing it. And yes, one another thing that I would like to mention, which Professor earlier mentioned as well, is when you're writing your, although you're doing a bachelor's dissertation or master dissertation, write it in such a way that you are doing your PhD dissertation. So obviously, if you do it that way, so what it shows is like your understanding and your understanding of the subject, right? And it can also like help you, for example, build your career ahead, and you have basically already approaching it in a certain way, which professors like it, you know, because there are not many people who will do it. For example, I have the future recommendation of it, have all the limitations of the project that you have done, you know. If there is any mistake that you have done, or you could have done it in a different way, then show them, oh, this is where I don't hide those things. The key here is to letting them know that this is where I missed, and if I had the time to do it again, I would have done it other way. You see, it's about understanding the process. According to me, my understanding, the dissertation is all about checking a student way to understand how to produce a report. That's all they are checking. They're not asking you to make a, you know, a rocket to go to Mars. So I think it's simple. If you approach it simple, the life actually becomes very, very easy. So yes, I think that is me really. And I think that's the end of my presentation. Sorry. Thank you.
Okay, can I give one or two comments?
Yes, please.
If I may. Right. Mohammed, it's really nice work that you have conducted. I like your chapter descriptions. Normally what is the common mistakes that students make in chapter description? Chapter 1 is literature review. Chapter 2 is methodology. Chapter 1 is introduction. Chapter 2 is literature review. Chapter 3 is methodology. But they don't describe what it involves in these chapters. In your chapter discussion, I like it's not too long because you don't want to describe chapter, but you want to at least give some kind of hint that what is this chapter about, how this chapter is dealt with. So that is what you have done. That is really nice. That is very good. I like that. And also the referencing, that is students struggle referencing. Obviously, there are different referencing styles. Some universities have got specific referencing style requested. Sometimes I go for Harvard APS 7th edition. That's the latest edition to my students. I encourage them to use that. But sometimes you can use Chicago reference styling, the surname, comma, year of publication, or sometimes you can go to Vancouver. Whatever reference you use, sometimes if you have specifically requested to use a particular reference, then you have to use that. Otherwise, you can choose your own reference, but use consistently. That is so important. And I like that the way you have done. So that will save a lot of time. And looking your work, the structure you have put, chapter 5, chapter 6, it is very beautiful. In the preambles before introduction, the table of content abstract, they are all page numbers are in the Roman numerals. That's so important. Students really forget that. They write Arabic, So your introduction starts page number 1 in Arabic. Before introduction, all your preambles has to be page number in the Roman numerical, but people forget that. So from looking your structure is beautiful. So that's all I can say. Obviously, I haven't read what you have written, but your presentation, your structure is beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Homna sir. I think I found a commonality between some of your paper and mine is lean engineering. So I might probably be contacting you about publishing a paper which I have written down. So I can hear you. You are in mute.
Mohammed, you can approach to Journal of Lean and Six Sigma. I'm guest editor. It's a very reputed journal in the field.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. I think that's the end of my presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Ansari, for your valuable presentations, and thank you, sir, for your feedback as well. I now welcome Nivedita Gautam to present her slides on architecture engineering. Nivedita, are you with us?
Hello.
Hi.
Hello, namaste, everyone. So I am Nivedita. I'm going to share my screen quickly with you. If you could please let me know if you can see my screen, that would be great.
Nivedita, can you please raise your voice a little bit?
Okay. I was going to say that.
Sorry about that. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, so yeah, my name is Nivedita Gautam. I'm currently a master's in architecture student at East London University. And I recently just submitted my master's thesis, which is slightly unfortunate because this talk would have been perfect for me. So I'm just going to share some of my experiences and what I felt while I was doing my dissertation that could help fellow students. So I chose environmental theory route for my master's, and because architecture is a 2 years course, on my first year, my essay was about Louis Kahn, the architect, and how he uses light. And then I followed my interest in environmental theory, and then I did my thesis, which was about architecture in the new era of pandemic, which is very topical at the moment. So I'm just going to quickly go through my timeline and how I approached the thesis. So I think it's really important to start thinking about your topic really early on, maybe a year ahead, so that you have time to experience with the topic, read about it and see if it's suitable for you. So I started looking at my research so last summer to see if I actually enjoy it. And then over the summer holiday, I built up my research and my reading material. and then started playing with the format and layout so that at the beginning of the academic year, I could just go through it with the tutor and then just get cracking with it. So, so this is kind of the timeline. And then I submitted in January this year. So I'm just going to go through kind of these phases and my experience through them. So choosing the topic. So because I wrote about pandemics and diseases in architecture, because that was really, it's affected all of us, and it was, something really that really interested me. So I think it's really important to think about, if you enjoy the topic or not, because you're going to be stuck with it for a long time. So it's important that you enjoy it. And the second thing is the possibility of linking your dissertation topic to design thesis. It's really important in architecture that there's a flow. It's not necessarily, it's not, you don't have to do that, but it really helps the whole year if you kind of link your design with your theory. And then that follows on to when you go for job interviews, because what I experienced when I was looking for a job after my undergrad was that the employers not only care about your design, but they also look at your writing and how you approach that. So it's really important that you think about that when you choose a topic. And then another thing is the availability of resources. So you might be interested in something and really passionate about it, but it doesn't really, it gets you stuck if there's not enough material you can read and reference about. And then final and probably the most important is if your topic actually matches with the course or the brief that's set out for you. So I was doing environmental theory, so I had to make sure that it was somewhat relevant to that module. So after deciding the topic, you have to think about what you're going to read and how you're going to, access the resources. So these are just like few things that you don't really, people don't really talk about, I guess. So you're always told that Wikipedia is, don't look at Wikipedia and don't look at bad websites. But sometimes it can be a good starting point, because places like Wikipedia and not so well reputed website could be a really good source for you to get extra references. So don't be afraid to actually use internet. You just have to be wise with it. And then so the second one is don't think outside the books. So you just explore all the possible resources. So these days, you're home, there's like so many resources online. So from podcasts to online seminars, it's just there's endless opportunities to just and then you can also look at trips you've taken, all holidays you've been to, or even a conversation you've had. So you could, I don't know, just reference this seminar we've had today. So just make the most of whatever you've been part of. And then I think the best advice I was given is think about the bibliography from the day you start reading, because it will save you a lot of time. So just come up with a structure. So I just when I started reading, I just had a simple Excel sheet, and then I just developed that into a system where I could reference it. So that saves a lot of time. And then after you've gathered your information, you kind of want to think about the format and layout. So before you start writing, it's really key that you think about the format. So it's kind of like you're designing how you want to do your thesis. So for architecture, there's a big emphasis on how you design your portfolio layout. So kind of have that mindset when you think of your thesis as well. So you want to, really be really consistent and have a, flow with your writing. So it also helps you with the writing itself if you have a good format. And then people, I see a lot of people doing, making things overcomplicated. And so like, just keep it simple with the font you use, the document setup, and then write in simple English. don't go fancy. Just think that whoever's reading this might not have architecture background or whatever background you're from. So simple is the best. And like the professors mentioned before, consistency. So keep the figures, the text, everything consistent, the font style you use, all of that really consistent. And if you can, it's probably useful to link the style with your design portfolio, so it kind of flows across your degree. So that's really important. And then, so when it comes to researching, just look at, like mentioned previously, look at like PhD research or like research by other students. That can be a good source for you. And you're not inventing something new. You're researching and you're writing a report. So just keep that in mind. And with architecture, I think it's really important because it's a really visual sector. So make the most of your drawing skills and make sure that you use visual aids like plans. If you're talking about a part of a building, show that in your thesis maybe, and just explore that, because that's really important. So yeah, when you're doing a research, don't just sometimes when you think like, okay, I'm going to write about this, and then you just get stuck with that topic. So I think it's really important you explore anything that's linked to the topic, so you don't get stuck and you're just not going in a tangent. So it's just keep an open mind. Yeah, so, and then when you're writing about it, well, during my undergrad, what really constrained me was the word limit. So I thought because it had to be a certain word limit, I would, really constrain myself from writing a lot, which is really unhelpful actually. So when you initially start writing, just go with your flow, just keep writing, let it come out. And then later on, you can cut it down and make it more rich with the literature can be more rich that way. So yeah, just keep writing. And then when you're writing, it can just be really, really overwhelming because, it's a long piece of writing, it goes on for a long time. So I think it's really important to keep, just break it down into bits and take it one step at a time. So when you're doing so just set yourself targets, maybe just, I'm going to do this, I'm going to research on this, and then I'll write about this. When you do that, and most of the time, it kind of leads you to another topic. So when you're doing one chapter, you kind of explore something else, and then it helps you move on quickly. So create a process, kind of map on how you want to develop throughout the year. So how I did it was I started reading, and then I would read the notes and then make my own notes while referencing it. And then from that, I would paraphrase and then analyze, and then, and then add my own input, and then just keep on drafting it. So just take it one step at a time, which is really, really helpful, I think. So these are, I think, the the harsh realities of writing a dissertation. So when you start reading, you think, oh, I'm going to write about this, I'm going to write about that. And then after you've read like 100 articles, you think, okay, I've read enough, that's enough. But then you realize maybe 50 of them you're not going to use. So you need to write more or read more. So it's a constant journey, and it's more about reading than about writing. So you read a lot. So don't be shy from reading, and I think start really early on and get to the first draft really as quickly as you can, because your first draft is not going to look anything like your final draft. So yeah, that's all my tips, and here are my few of my favorite links that I often visit that helps to keep you inspired. I have a long list if anyone is interested, any architecture fellow that I can share my links with, or or if you have any questions, any doubt, or if you'd like to talk to someone who's studying architecture, just share your pain, please feel free to talk to me, and that is me. Thank you for listening.
Right. Thank you so much, Nivedita. That was really valuable and really precious. I hope our audiences saw things from students' perspective and from professors' perspective as well. I'm now going to invite Mr. Sangyukta Shrestha to express few words and to give his input on this program.
Hey, thanks, Priyanka. Nivedita, can you close your sharing? Turn it off. Or shall I do it from my end? Is that okay?
Yes, if you could, that'd be great.
Okay, yeah, that's done now. Thanks. Thanks, Nivedita, and thank you, everyone. So this is SONEUK Shrestha, the chairperson of Society of Nepalese Engineers UK, as you know. And thank you, Priyanka, for hosting such a beautiful event for all the young to-be engineers, students, and all Nepalese members of our society. Thank you, especially to our main speakers, Professor Homnath Dhakal and Professor Keshav Dahal, both who presented quite, with lots of insight into things that we need to know in terms of dissertation and thesis. And basically, they start. The good thing was they started from what is a thesis and what is a dissertation and what are the differences. And I think it gave a very good insight over things that we need to know from start to finish, from the day we start writing till the end we start binding our publication. So I will wrap this up as a very short closing remark, as I would like to say, with a short presentation here. Right. So as technology would have it, we are not able to see my presentation. Is that what's happening now?
I'm sorry, that if you could be a bit louder, please.
Oh, sure.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm just trying to open my presentation here to start with. Okay. Okay, I think I did something wrong when I closed the other presentation earlier, due to which I'm not able to see anything that I can share. Priyanka, can you check your chat? There's a PDF that I've sent you.
Yeah. Do you want me to share it?
Yeah. Can you try sharing it?
Yeah,
It's a
sure.
weird thing I can't as a host myself.
That's okay, no problem. It's downloading now.
Is it working for you?
Yeah. It's nearly there.
Yeah, I probably did something wrong when I closed, when I turned the earlier presentation off. And
Right.
showing you what I should see. It's going to be a very quick one. We'll keep it very short.
Sorry, I'm going to share it now. It's okay.
Yeah.
I don't have an option to share. Oh yeah, I do. Yeah, can you see it?
Yeah, I think it's loading. Perfect, perfect. Yeah, I can see it now. Cheers for this. So I can just get your help when I need to go back and go to the next slide. Is that okay?
No worries.
Yeah, sure. Can we start with the second slide, please? So basically, I would like to start talking about my closing remark for today as a rough figure of number of students in Nepalese students in the UK. So we're kind of, as an organization of Society of Nepalese Engineers, we are also definitely very much interested in students, Nepalese students in the UK. So currently there are like some 3,100 home students and 950 international students, which is a big rise of almost like more, like almost 1,000, making the total soaring from 3,300 last year to 4,050 this January. So this is a very fresh figure for us. There are around 4,050 Nepalese students in the UK, out of which roughly, as per my research shows, 5% are in engineering and 18% are in IT. So total would be like some 23%, nearly 25% engineering and technology students are there in the UK who are from Nepalese origin, both international and home students. If we could go to the next slide, please. So basically, what I wanted to share was, I think it's been a very serious afternoon here for us at Society of Nepalese Engineers UK today. Let's make it a bit more fun. I think one of the drawbacks, one of the things that put us back as Nepalese students in the UK is how we are brought up at our home, in our society, back home in Nepal, or even when raised in the UK within the Nepalese community. We are like too respectful. I think we are too respectful. That's my personal opinion, and I think you'll agree. Too respectful than what is actually required of someone who wants to learn, who we define as a student. So you probably see and this has been with my case as well. When I first came to the UK, I was quite shocked at professors wearing shorts in the class and students having their foot on the table, which was completely shocking coming from Nepal. And even for students who are in Nepalese youth who are raised in the UK, things are quite different at home and outside. At the university, especially in the academics. So we probably spend a lot of time thinking what we should and what we should not when we write, read, or speak to our teachers, professors, and we are too respectful as a Nepalese student. I think we should get over it, because this is something I wanted to raise, because technology, engineering or science, every technology is backed by research, and a good research mind is the one which is not afraid of debates, of asking questions, and in case of confusion, and in case of disagreements, even put things forward to their teachers and people and their seniors. I think if we can get to that level, our technology backed by research and our in our perspective as a student, as a learner, as a lifelong learner, will actually enhance. If we can go to the next slide, please. And why I'm saying to get over it is because, as this little PhD joke shows, we spend lots of time writing an email, and what we get from professors like, yes, do it, send, see attached. No, limited words. So I think we should get over it. We should be able to, we should inculcate the habit of, healthy debates, not being too respectful than is needed, and always, thinking of the thing that we're here to do, to learn. Next slide, please. Professors in the UK. After we've talked about students, like 10% of the total UK population is, from the data of professors in the UK, out of the total UK population, 10% are actually professors. I think somewhere a little more than 500 of them in the UK. Out of Nepalese population, which is slightly more than 60,000, we have only a handful of professors, or say less than 10 that I know personally, around 6, 7. So there are lots of senior teaching staff, but professors, they're quite less than 10, as I said earlier, which is safe to say. Now, this keeps those who are already professors and from Nepalese background in a very niche bracket. Congratulations to those who have already achieved it, including our earlier speakers, Professor Dahal and Professor Dhakal. Which means, like, as we know, like most of the Nepalese in the UK are also from the the Gorkha background. So that's probably also the reason, and also because we have lots to do to prove ourselves in the academics as Nepalese immigrants in the UK. So if we would go for like 10% of the UK population and to achieve that level of normalcy, the normal rate of professorship in the UK and through academics, I think there's a long way to go for Nepalese community. Next slide, please. So I think it's very important to understand the student-professor relationship because it is almost like a marriage which lasts for 4 more years, and with a hate-love relationship, love and hate relationship, as we say, with every growing day and every new chapter of learning. If you know, like in the first book that I've written, the first line is about why I dropped my PhD, and it was a great lesson. And I think this afternoon we spent mainly talking about what we should do, and maybe there are things that we should not do, and there should be someone to speak about it as well. So I think the habit of encouraging the atmosphere, the surrounding, the experience that we have in our community should always encourage questioning. And as you can see in this small little PhD joke, how do we see ourselves? Like, we see there's a complex human brain, there are hopes, there are dreams, there are aspirations, and whatnot. If you go to the next slide, please, Priyanka. So this is how a professor sees you. There's a brain, and it's held up with a stick. So how's the research, he's asking. This is a joke, but it is quite near to the joke if you look at it from the student perspective. So professor is interested in your research capacity and not everything else, but you as a student have lots of dreams and aspirations and hopes to deal with. So this is a very complex situation, as you can see, but the one who actually has the required level of emotional resilience actually makes it till the last page of the dissertation thesis, is what I believe. The next slide, please. The research budget in the UK and Nepal is something quite interesting to talk about. I will just give a hint of it. In over 15 years in Nepal, the budget for research was Nepalese rupees 10 billion, under 10 million actually. That is approximate figure, I just rounded up. But in the UK, it is like 800 million GBP, just in engineering and technology. And, that is just the 30% of, and if you compare this with 30% of the budget for research in Nepal, which is now again 30% of 10 billion Nepalese rupees, there is a huge gap, which doesn't need any figures like these to understand, because we have lived through it, right? But what is the way to actually deal with this as Nepalese engineers, engineers with Nepalese background, family background, whatever, experiences in Nepal? I think it's always good to understand this huge gap and to try and channelize some of the UK research abilities, budget, whatever, resources, which is also useful in Nepal, to Nepal in some respect. And that will be a very interesting thing to talk about. If we can go to the next slide, please, Priyanka, I can elaborate a bit more. Yeah. So the question remains, what is the power of research? What's the power of research? Many people might have different ideas, and I believe, as I said, technology is backed by research. It goes in tandem. But then what is the power of research? The answer to it could be as vague and wide as it actually determines the level of research, the amount of research that we do as a human being, as a community, as as the world community. Our research actually determines who's going to live and until when. This is as generalized as it could be, and quite true to its nature. why I'm telling this is because only last night I would show a slide from my desktop last night. If you could go to the next slide, please, Priyanka. We're almost to the end. So this is something I was doing last night. This is related to a Google Translate project, which is trying to translate Nepal Bhasha into English and other languages in turn. The only simple thing I was trying to do is to, extract text which is in books into Unicode and then to try and map it to English. This is something like in 2006, around 2006, some 14 years ago, I was extracting news from BBC in Open University as one of the European Union research. I was extracting news from BBC broadcast through a Linux server and converting the videos to audio to text, texts to paragraphs. Everything is there, like open source and all. But if we have to do a simple thing like this in one of our languages from Nepal, it is a hell of a task, you see, because that pretty much shows where we are and how much we lag in research. And this is actually going to determine who will survive and until when. And things are disappearing day by day. If we can go to the last slide now. There are a number of traditional technologies of Nepal, which the world doesn't know about, and it's quite unique to the world, but they remain unresearched. It is not only about food items and building and construction technologies, it is also about other technologies. There is a short list here of about 53, which was listed in 1979, the year I was born. In the last 41 years of my life, I've never seen any of these research topics that evolved from this list to any academic research. So, of course, the world is, it will not be fair to say that the world is not interested in Nepal. It is. The only thing is there should be students, there should be professors, there should be departments who are interested in actually uplifting and actually creating ground for research, and then move on to technology and even dream for a prosperous world, which is a very famous slogan, and only limited to slogan if we do not back research and if we do not produce academic, manpower, skill set. That will be the end of it. Priyanka, thank you very much for this opportunity. And I think we will now open the floor for Q&A for everyone to participate. Thank you. Thank you very much. Priyanka?
Yeah, I'm coming. Thank you, Mr. Shrestha, for your valuable presentations. We are now going to take question and answer sessions. So if any of you have any questions, please feel free to write it down in the chat box and we'll read it out to our professors. I think we have already got a few of them here. Right. First question is from Ayush. He says, my master's position shall require to conduct. Right. So he asks, my master's dissertation project initial required to conduct some experiments, thermoplastic composites. However, due to COVID, I cannot access labs since it's not classed as essential. Is there any advice any of you can share? Now I'm considering to do some theoretical modeling. Thank you, Ayush, for your questions.
Right. From my side, Ayush, if I could suggest from my side, Priyanka, can I suggest something?
Yeah, sure.
Right. Ayush, it is unfortunate that the essential research classified as university, the project does not fall on that. The reason for that is there are so many projects, undergraduate projects that university, take. So you are in a very unfortunate position. But however, there could be some good literature. You must communicate with your supervisor. And a request for supervisor, obviously, you might be now going through literature review mode rather than doing experimental study. So you have to go to what are the key journal papers, they cover your research area, and go and find certain journal papers and talk to your supervisor and try to find the the modeling aspect. Yes, if you can model and replicate that experimental the work that you are going, that will be amazing. But you need to talk to your supervisor and find the key journal papers and key resources where you can extract the data that has been already published and put into your perspective. I hope that has that was helpful. Ayush?
Yeah, can I just add to it? Yeah, in some university, also like my university is providing access, lab access for students who really need to go to lab. Okay, so you may look as well. If you want to conduct some experimentation, and you can go schedule and get permission and then go to lab. Still you can do that with a limited way. The other way, like Homna sir is suggesting, you look at literature and then what output you are looking for. And if you can find the data from say paper, or if there's a data set available publicly available, then perhaps you can use those data and then do some theoretical analysis you want to do. But work with your supervisor on that.
Can I add one more, Ayush, for that? You may not be able to find the data that you wanted to model your experimental work, but nonetheless, you can also complete your project by secondary data using literature review. So you can still go your plan, introduction, literature review, experimental work. Under experimental work, go and find what those literature that you are considering to refer, how they have done it, and then get the results that they have presented, and you criticize them, you review them, or you engage with them, you discuss about their results. So in that way, if you cannot get the chance to do modeling or enough data, a relevant paper, you can still do your project, but do as a review based.
Thank you, professors. I hope Ayush's queries have been answered. Another question is from Mega. She asks, do you have any tips on how to approach research during the pandemic? Have the professors seen any trends in the way in which their students are approaching research differently in the past year?
Yeah, of course. I mean, the way we work completely changed, for over a year now. And then, with my PhD students, for example, I do every week, half an hour or so, over the virtual environment like Zoom or Skype or this. So for master students and other, you need to approach your supervisor and get time with them, and then don't be scared, or just be bold and ask for time. They are there to give you time, and discuss whatever you need, any help you need, any support you need. We all are there to support our students for dissertation or this. Okay, and I also suggest, if you are asked to do something, do that, or let the professor know early if you have any problem or anything, and then send your work a bit early for them to before meeting, so that they can give you constructive criticism and feedback and so on. Yeah, it's a difficult environment currently, but we are adopting with the new technology and new way of working.
Yeah, just adding Keshav's point, yeah, we have given extra attention to our students because we know our students are going through a very tough time. Not being able to directly contact with their lecturers, teachers, supervisors is in addition to the normal stress that already there due to COVID-19 and so many other aspects. So we try to help them as much as possible. So we are giving extra time to our students, so either via personal WebEx or many other platforms, Zoom, whatever suits them, we try to help them. I teach one module called Sustainable Development and Environmental Management, the 3rd year module, and this module has got 270 plus students. We are 3 lecturers, I'm module coordinator. So normally we don't use to accept attached file to provide feedback on their coursework. The coursework involves undertaking life cycle assessment of various products, which is very demanding in itself. So what we did this year was they can send as an attachment, we read them, and we provide them feedback. No matter how much time it costs to us, which is not easy, but we try to help them. So lecturers, professors are there to help our students. So you need to ask them, and they will not disappoint you, I believe.
Right, thank you both professors. I hope, Megha, your query has been answered as well. Another question is for both professors by Mr. R.C. Adhikari. He says, academic value of MPhil, does it count as a first year of PhD, part-time PhD? How credible is it? Do you advise to find your own new topic or continue to do others' research for a PhD?
Sorry, I didn't get what. Academic value of what?
MPhil, does it
MPhil.
count as a first year of PhD or a part-time PhD? And
No,
how credible?
It depends, right? If you have already got MPhil degree, you've done your research, defended your dissertation thesis, and got MPhil degree, then that cannot be counted for PhD. Okay, so you need to start PhD from first year. But if you are enrolled for MPhil stroke PhD degree, then effectively you are doing your first year as MPhil, and then you are transferring that MPhil study as a first year of your PhD. Okay, if you are successful in transfer event, then your first year MPhil becomes your first year of PhD. Okay, and that's the basically checkpoint. And as I said earlier, if someone does not want to continue for 3-4 years research, or if supervisor see an student does not have the required skill or background of this, and that's the point for termination. And students can go and start completing the MPhil degree rather than PhD. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, sir. There's another question from Mr. Bhupesh Mishra. He says, as a reviewer, how do you define the novelty of the paper, how it differs in masterwork with PhD? And he also questions, what do you say in your first meeting with student?
Right. Can I jump in this one?
Yeah, sure.
Well, first of all, the paper submitted for review, there are 2 ways. First of all, the editorial board will look whether paper is good enough to suit that journal. They will already have a first screen of the paper, whether that should go to review or not. So if that paper goes to review, there's already some kind of indication that the paper has something to review. That's the first thing. And then when it goes to reviewer will read the paper, and the paper must be indicating what are the new aspects they are working on, what are the new findings, or what are the implications. So the authors must state that somewhere in their paper, so that is a helpful point for the reviewer. But then if the reviewer must be the expert in the field, so they will also know that what has been done in that particular field, and where are the papers in that field, who has published. So the research community is not a very large community in that specific field. So they will have some kind of experience. So from that, they will be able to find whether there is novelty aspect in that paper or not, or if there's something repetition or some kind of new twist of certain things. So they will find that out from their experience. Obviously, you can also publish papers from your master's work. It doesn't mean their master work is not worth for publishing paper. One of my papers has been published in a very high impact factor journal that was from my master's student thesis. and that is my second highly cited paper in the field. Okay, so that means masters, if you are very, I don't know how to put it, if you are a very careful supervisor, you choose your master project and you bring your student, they can produce amazing work. It's not like PhD because it has short time. You know, there's a limitation, what can you bring from master's thesis, but you can also publish paper for master thesis, equally good to be published in a paper. So
I just want to add probably my perspective of asking these questions. I'm just a new reviewer. I'm just a new field in the field of this academy. So when I get some paper to review, so what I try to know from your experience, that how do you define whether this paper has a novelty or not, based on the literature review presented or based on the work they presented in their paper, or do you refer some other works as well?
Yeah, there are 2-3 things here. One, when the introduction part is a kind of review part, so the authors would have suggested that, okay, this much work has been done by this people, this much work has been done by this people, this paper, but this aspect has been highly worked. However, this aspect has not been looked or linked together, which is so important. So if they argue that, and you as a reviewer, if you can quickly go and have a look at that, you will know the case made forward is strong. So the authors has to be able to review the work that has already been done in the field and how this paper brings new aspect. Perhaps some aspect has been overlooked, some aspect has not been looked very carefully, so maybe some methodological aspect has not been looked, so they will have to point that out in their introduction chapter, and the aim of this paper is to do this. That is first thing. Second, from their findings in their discussion, and towards the end of their discussion, they will say implications. The finding of this work will have this much implication. So that is some kind of indication that this paper has got some novelty aspect. That is how I do it, but it's not hard and fast rule. You can find that like that. Obviously, it depends on also some different things, but that is how I normally look on the new papers I review.
Yeah. Yeah, just to add to that, you know, you are expertise in that field as a reviewer, not in every all aspect, but you know, the major aspect of the paper. That's probably why you got paper reviewed by you. That's one aspect. And then if while reading paper, if the paper is not indicating what is the novelty of you know, they are going to present, that means probably that paper is not written very well. Yeah. So by reading in an introduction section, the paper should make clear that what they are contributing, what's their contribution is, and if that's not made very clear, that means either there is no novelty or they are not explicitly expressing you know, those novelty. That means not written well. So, and you can put that comments for your paper, so that in next revision section, I mean revised version may address that issue.
Yeah. And some journals, they may not give you chance if there are already so many comments and the novelty aspect has not been explicitly mentioned. If the reviewer write that, you may not get another chance to review because that will be rejected. It depends on what kind of paper you have submitted. Not all papers are so generous because the rejection rate is almost like 80% in some papers. Some papers have 90% rejection rate. So there is no, if the paper has some flaws or something to be improved, they may not give that chance. So that also depends on the paper, but obviously, as Keshav sir mentioned, if that is not clearly mentioned, but there is some novelty aspect, they will request the authors to address. Please clearly mention your novelty aspect of what are the key implications from your work.
Sir, yeah, I have second part of my questions. That I am recently joined the supervisory team of masters and co-supervisor of one of PhD students. So that's why my question was, what do you say in first meeting of 2 year students, and then how you define novelty in master work and PhD work, because I have both now, and this is my first experience. So could you please share your experience?
Okay.
Well, when I have meeting with my student, first of all, I just say, what are our aims and objectives? Where are we? Okay, so that is a good question to start. Obviously, I always ask how you are. Obviously, how are you? How is your work? Are you fine? So just to show some concern. What is your PhD student or master student going through? So that is the first thing. Obviously, that is a normal thing we do. And then obviously where we are at the moment, were there any target planned, or were there any activities planned? Was there any deadline set, or where you are on that? So that will be the first question. The novelty aspect, obviously, master's project also has got novelty. Not as much as so rigorous as PhD, but nonetheless, master project shouldn't be repeating something that has already been done. So yeah, so in that case, master project is also challenging. At the same time, it's challenging for PhD project. So yeah, it all depends on the chemistry of supervisor and student. Sometimes, just because of that chemistry doesn't work, after first year, student leave that supervisor and they even go and change the supervisor. So the building that relationship, understanding each other's approach, and understanding expectation that as I mentioned earlier, is very key to maintain that relationship. The student must have confidence on supervisor. If I go to my supervisor, I will get support, or he will make me something, he will contribute something. If a person goes to supervisor and always comes back with another question rather than having some kind of help, and go again another question having them some help, then he will find himself very, in a difficult position. Yeah, so I emphasize this appreciative inquiry. What you have done is great. Can you do this way? Appreciate what the person has done already and try to help him to achieve what we're supposed to achieve as a team. Because supervisor and the student working as a team, although the project is theirs, is their responsibility, nonetheless, you are also responsible in many ways as a supervisor.
Thank you so much, sir. We're now going to take our very last questions due to time limit, so really sorry about that. This is a question that I actually missed out from Mr. Adhikari. He says, there was a third part of the questions. It was, do you advise to find your own new topic or continue to do others' research for a PhD?
Yeah. Eventually, you need to find, you need to contribute to knowledge, right? But what we usually do is, the idea doesn't come like this. So you have to read a lot of paper, a lot of other people's research. Sometimes I just say, research is something like a wall. Yeah, it's a big wall, and then you read paper. And then, okay, this part of the wall is already covered. This part of the wall is already covered. Yeah, and then if you start doing that, then you see the gap on the wall. That is the where people had not worked, and that probably you can contribute to. But that part, that gap, is surrounded by other people's work. Remember, so you need to know what other people had done in that area. So that and there is still a gap there, and then I can take fill up some of this gap in context of other people's work. So you always need to found or base your work with the existing work, and then bring new knowledge to knowledge body to that research wall.
I would just add on, just complement Keshav's point. Sometimes students can come to supervisors with some idea. They may have been working in the industry. They may have been working in a particular field for a long time. They wanted to do some research. They may come to supervisor and propose, okay, sir, I have got this idea. I'd like to do research from PhD. Can we do that? And then obviously applied research, sometimes you can have some good idea, but doing PhD has to be academic flavor. There has to be academic aspect. So they discuss, and they can also bring from there a PhD topic. Normally, supervisors may have different PhD topics. They can choose from that, but sometimes students can come with some idea, and then that can be built on, the PhD topic. And sometimes, as Keshav sir mentioned, you read so many papers and bring some idea. Okay, this has been looked, this has been looked, but this aspect hasn't been looked. Shall we do this PhD? Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. Right. Sorry. I would like to say thank you to our dear professors for your valuable time and knowledge sharing. Thank you, presenters and students for attending this program. I hope this program would help you plan your dissertation or thesis smoothly and efficiently, especially during this pandemic where there are like limited resources and help for our students. I really hope this program was eventful. I would now like to hand over this program to Dr. Bidur Kimire to express few words as well as to conclude this program. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Priyanka, for giving me this chance to say thank you.
Sir, can I take half a minute? Just there was one question that mentioning about mental health during PhD or
please go ahead.
Highlighted.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, students are going through a very stressful time. So mental health is a very big issue. We have got support system. Each university has support system, and supervisors also look after that very carefully. So if there are any mental health issue, we direct them to concerned colleagues and we look after that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And one thing I also want to add, your supervisor is not just academic guidance. Okay, supervisor has role of pastoral care of yourself. So you don't need to share everything with your supervisor. But if there are something you're worried about on this, just go to your supervisor and talk about it, and supervisor will direct you where to go and how to get help within university system. You may not know what is available within university. Like Omna sir said, every university are putting in place for mental health support. And it's massive. It's not only students, we all are going through the difficult time. So there are support available. Talk to your supervisor if you don't know, or you can contact your university there. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Priyanka, for passing on to me. It was really a wonderful program and wonderful presentation from all of the four presenters, professors, and graduates, recent graduates. It was really a very quite beneficial program and relevant to the topics, I would say. So I'm sure you will all join me in thanking all of our speakers and professors for their wonderful time and their wonderful presentation even during this pandemic time. And thank you, Priyanka, for smoothly conducting this program. As we have envisaged, I'm sure lots of graduates and going to be graduates, they have been benefited from this evening's seminar, this program. And one of the questions were there from one of the participants about running the similar kind of program in the coming days for next year, because this is our regular program. I would assure that that will be done in the future. I think Rudraji has posed that questions earlier. So thank you. And I'm sure you will all join me in clapping to give our round of applause to all of the participants and mainly our resource persons and interactive programs. Thank you.
Right, thank you very much for all. And we are quite happy to contribute to in the future. There was one question from Bidur ji about paper writing as well. So yeah, in future maybe we can organize similar event focusing on paper writing.
Yeah, I was very impressed by SONEUK's presentation, the research culture in Nepal.
Absolutely.
I think there's another area we can look. Why Nepal research is not, obviously the focus is not there, but priority is not there. We worked so many years in Tribhuvan University, me and Keshav sir, I mean, many of you maybe you have worked with the university, Tribhuvan University. The focus is not so much research, it's more teaching. But now teaching alone will not be able to survive. We need to focus on research as well. But then our culture, our research priority is not there. So, there are so many other factors we can discuss that in the future. I think that was very good, Samyukta-ji. You brought very nice.
Yeah, it's
content.
very informative actually.
Very informative. Very well done, Samyukta-ji. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. We just learned from professors like you anyway. So, and I also would, I mean, we're almost done with the session today. Priyanka did a wonderful job, and so grateful to all our young members. I also request our professors, our senior members, to actually get hold of some of our junior members, like new members of the society, like Deepu Manandar is a doctorate in AI, if Keshav Dahal, Professor Keshav Dahal would like to be friends with, and Gyanendra Gyanendra is also with us. He is also a doctorate, I think a doctorate student of mechanical engineering, if Professor Dhakal would like to be friends with. You know, there are lots of new people, so please get together. There will be more opportunities in the future to physically meet. We promise, as soon as things are back for everyone. So please get hold of people here, make friends.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, all professors look for new and you know, enthusiastic and motivated minds. So
thank you. So shall I terminate the session for today?
Thank you
very much. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye. Bye.